All righty, we are live. Nice. Me and technology, joined by Matt Belman. Going to be a good one here. Just fingers crossed that we get YouTube live. YouTube has gone live. Playback has gone live. Matt, the world is our oyster. What's going on, my friend?
Nothing. Happy you're back in one piece. How was the week of traveling?
There were a lot of moving parts, a lot of early days, flying out, getting up at 3:30 after springing forward, and then flying from Tampa all the way to Seattle, and then like a flight delayed by 90 minutes in Seattle to get to the middle of the state. Yeah.
Is there a direct flight from Tampa to Seattle?
There is, but only on Alaska Airlines.
How long is that? Is that what you took, or did you take something?
5 hours and 50 minutes.
That's about as long as you can get without going outside the country.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not including Hawaii. Not including like Hawaii and Alaska.
Right. EMac loves chatting. Well, EMac is trying to set up all the fun stuff behind the scenes here. I could do some ads if you guys preferred. I mean, that I can do in my sleep. I can do that without thinking about it. You know, all the different promos that we have, but we'll save those. Let's share this screen here. We've got that in playback, and I'm going to put this on the old YouTube, and then we're going to be good to go because we have 7 games tonight. So we need to get moving along here. There we go. That should be showing up. Let's give that a sec to make sure it did. Oops, that did not. There we go. Now I know it's there. Okay. Chat. What are we going to do here? We're going to have some fun. Humboldt says he doesn't fly. He hitchhikes everywhere. Good for you. This is how movies start out, and not the good kind. Not the good kind.
Yeah.
Now, before everybody gets mad, I'm going to make this screen a little bigger. I am going to eliminate some of the columns. Matt, did you win anything big?
No. Last night's slate was trying to think about last night.
It was the Philadelphia.
Yeah, it was. I did not. Last night was not a good night for me. I used a lot of Jason Tatum, who was not good. So you needed other guys. Ja Morant was amazing. The Cleveland guys were really good. So it was not my night. But man, Cleveland is a freaking wagon. They are fun to watch.
They are definitely something else. That's all I can say. You know who got it together late? The Lakers. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Denver to beat the Lakers. The Lakers were winning with like 40 seconds left. And that was without Doncic and without LeBron in I repeat that, Denver. That was a surprising one. But we've got Denver on the slate tonight. We'll have to see if somebody rests because somebody's going to rest, right, against the Wizards.
Yeah, you'd think so. And if they don't, that game has blowout written all over it. But yeah, I mean, certainly there's pieces there that we're going to have to discuss, even if there aren't guys out. And if there are guys out, it's such a good spot against Washington that hard to avoid Denver.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, I'm going to get this set up here. So as I'm working through all this stuff, we're going to go by game. It's a little easier for me to share the screen and do all of that. So our first game that we are starting off with is the only game at 7 o'clock. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Detroit Pistons. And you have no Jalen Williams, the good Jalen Williams, that is, for OKC. No Chet Holmgren. They're preemptively resting him because Oklahoma plays in Milwaukee tomorrow. So this is the front end of a back-to-back. On the Detroit side, they've got pretty much everybody available, and they have Cade Cunningham, who is playing at a top level, and he's going to be going against a team missing 2 of their 5 starters. And while they still have some good on-ball defenders, I think Cade's leveled up here. This is our very first game. What are you liking from this one? And I will just set the stage. I have set my Yahoo or my FanDuel lineups 50% of SGA and 25% of Cade. And I've closed out FanDuel, and I'm not going to look at it till the second game because I don't want to mess up our show. So I'm riding hard in this first one. What do you think about that, Mr. Belman?
I respect it. I don't like much from this game, to be perfectly honest. There's good players in it, don't get me wrong. I mean, we know OKC is full of them. Shea is the top dog. 11-5, though. Hefty tag, and not in like the greatest spot in the world. So I'm not sure. I know he's not a priority. I don't think you're never crazy to play someone like Shea, but he's not a priority at that price point in this matchup on this slate. Outside of that, from OKC, I like Hartenstein. He projects well at 6,900. He's a guy that I've used a bunch this year to success. So I think he could be on the short list of guys you play. Not like a top priority, but I could see him being a building block if you're playing 3 lineups, using him in a couple of them. After that, on the OKC side, I always like using some Case and Wallace. 4,300, still a good tag, point guard and shooting guard eligible. It's going to be those 3 guys for me, Shea, Hartenstein, and Wallace, but I don't think I'll be able to get up to Shea, so the other 2 are more appealing. From the Detroit side, I don't see anything. Like Cade is kind of like Shea light here. Like he doesn't have the same production, but he's 1,500 cheaper, and he's also really good. So I know you've been right on him a bunch this year. I could see getting to him just like I could see getting to Shea, but they're just GPP pay up to be contrarian plays. Hartenstein would be the closest thing to a must play in this game for me. How about you?
No, that and that makes sense. So that's why I sort of planted the proverbial flag here, because I thought I want to try to be a little above the field on FanDuel. So right now we're projecting Shea for 39%. I put him at 50, and then with Cunningham, as you mentioned, the $1,200 savings on DraftKings, $1,000 savings on FanDuel. Those are rather appealing. We've got some spend up options tonight. We haven't seen that in some of our slates this week, but we still have Jokic, we still have Giannis, and a couple other guys not quite at that apex level, but some other options. Using up 2 of these guys in the first game, I'm okay going that route. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, I'm just doing my one lineup over on Yahoo. I don't have anybody from this game. So if I was branching out more, and I closed out my stuff so I wouldn't ruin my computer and ruin the bandwidth and frame or the pixelation on this show, I think I had 10% or less of everybody else in this game. So I didn't go look to see what I was getting for Hartenstein, but I believe I had a couple other centers that were significantly higher than him. So if he feathered in my lineups, I'm okay with that. If I got a little bit of Durant, I'm okay with that. But I agree with you on that. That's where this is kind of the personal preference of going with Detroit. They weren't really popping at all throughout the day. And if we look at on FanDuel, nobody has more than 5% ownership coming in. And if we look, let's take a peek here at DraftKings and see what we've got. It's probably going to be a similar story. So by me going to 25%, of Cunningham, that's a huge stand. And my thought on that, just to reiterate, is while the Thunder have a good defense, it's still hard missing 2 of their good players as far as the team concept. Now, yes, they still have Aaron Wiggins. They've got Shea. They've got Lucian Dort. Of course, they have Alex Caruso. So they've got plenty of good defenders. I think it's just enough here that I like where things are going with Cade. But the counterpart for him is going to be at the center position, and that's going to be Şengün. They have similar projections. So I'm just looking at being a little bit different. Anything else from this first game? Because this is one that's really just kind of 2 points to talk about.
Yeah, I don't really think so.
All righty. Moving on to game numero 2. Let's get over here. So Indiana Pacers at the Milwaukee Bucks. We have to wait a whole hour before the next 2 games tip off. You've got the Bucks favored at home by 3.5, as I mentioned. With the OKC side, they are hosting OKC tomorrow, so this is the front end of a back-to-back for them. Everybody who is expected to play for both sides. Now, this is a back-to-back for Indiana. They played last night against Philadelphia, took care of business in the city of brotherly love, 112-110. Nembhard played 33 minutes. That was the team high. You had Tyrese Halliburton play 31 minutes. He missed a couple games in the last 10 days dealing with various injuries, but he's been back for a few. Expectations are he plays tonight, and there's 3 points basically separating these teams. So should be a nice little matchup here. Let's start off with the visiting team, the Pacers. Who is showing up for you, Matt?
Again, another one with really good plays on the slate elsewhere and a bunch of games. Not much is showing up for me as far as like top plays on the slate from the Indiana side. Are you seeing it differently?
No, not at all. And neither are other tools. So on FanDuel, again, less than 5%. And these are DraftKings less than 5%. On FanDuel, it's a similar story. These are going to be the games where why I wanted to do this game by game is because there are certain just ones we're going to kind of skip through because there's really nothing to see here. And this is one of them. Two fairly matched teams. The Indiana side is, Indiana won by 1 point in the last time these guys met within the last week. But just with everybody fully healthy and setting aside Bobby Portis, but things have normalized for him being out. It's tough to really like anybody in this one. If these guys land in your lineups, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with Giannis as a pay up, but I don't really like any of the other pieces because without somebody missing, anybody could go off on these teams. And when we say that, it's like, yes, that's true of anybody at any point in time. But here you've got, would it shock you if Siakam led the team? No. Turner, no. Mathurin dropping 40 again? Probably not. But, he's had some good stuff. On the other side, it ain't going to be Kyle Kuzma, but good game from Lopez, a good game from Giannis. Dame time happens. Not going to really surprise anybody, but pinpointing this, outside of Giannis, it's hard to trust anybody. I'm assuming you're getting that same read. So if you don't have anything else on the Pacers, toss out whatever you got there on Milwaukee.
No, we see it similarly. I mean, Giannis would be the guy. He looks Shea-like in this spot. I would rather get to Giannis personally. He's 300 more expensive, projects for slightly more fantasy points, about the same ownership, about the same optimal percentage, a little bit higher for Giannis. I like this spot for him. I just don't think you necessarily have to allocate 11-8 for him, as much, or, Jokic is 1,000 more. I don't think either of them are must plays. I could see making the case for Giannis being the top spend up option of the night. But there's a lot of good mid-tier plays on this slate. So just depends on how you want to build. Giannis doesn't look like a ultimate priority, but just a solid play in all formats.
And there's a front court that's going to be providing a lot of values in one of the games that we're getting to. So Giannis kind of, we say, sunk cost or opportunity cost in there by position. Perhaps Giannis is tonight. Hence why I kind of want to go for the two guards in this one, because I'm a little nervous that people figure this out. And if we lose, some people from Denver, or people kind of guess that, my guess on Jokic is, he's going to play. Because he's going after his third consecutive MVP, right? He hasn't had a game off in a while, but I doubt they give him a game off here. Why not go after one of his patented 28-minute triple doubles, right? Do just enough. They get the cushion, and he sits midway through the third quarter for the rest of the game. Totally.
Or he could do the two triple doubles in one game thing again.
Or he could do that, which would be awesome, which would also say, what the hell happened with the Wizards if they're going to do that? So, but if we look at the screen here, we can see that Giannis is basically perfectly owned, a 1% leverage on DraftKings, about 25% optimal, about 25% in this popularity. Tiny bit of leverage, favorable leverage there on FanDuel, but not really a lot. We'll just call that neutral or within the margin of errors. So key things to think about there. Let's quickly do one more fun game here, and then we can talk about some other things. Chicago at Houston. Now we've got some things that we want to talk about, right? This is a game we're not really going to skip over, similar to those other ones where there was only a few things to mention. Ayo Dosunmu out for the rest of the season with this shoulder issue. Lonzo Ball missing his 7th game with that wrist issue. And then I didn't see if Giddey is ruled out. He was listed as doubtful. I don't expect him to play. His injury timeline was not to have him back tonight. So I'm guessing he's going to be out. You had Vucevic return for 2 games after missing 5. He played 23 or so off the bench in his first game, and then he started in the last game, played 23 minutes. The game was in hand. So while I don't think he's back to full minutes, he's at least in the starting lineup. Houston on the other side, back-to-back for them. So they've already ruled out Tari Eason for rest. Amen Thompson is going to miss his 4th game, dealing with an ankle issue, probably going to miss another 5 games still, as they beat Dallas 133-96. It wasn't even close. Green played 33 minutes. Eason played I keep typing out Easton. I'm thinking about baseball, the Easton Bats. Although I guess that's more of a softball thing. But Easton played 31 minutes. That really doesn't matter. So this is interesting because we have Trey Jones in the mix here. We've got some of the other backcourt options. Kobe White, perhaps. Who am I blanking on? Oh, how can I forget Kevin Huerter? Tougher matchup against Houston. But there's your backcourt value. How are you feeling about the Bulls tonight?
Of all the teams we've talked about so far, I like the Bulls the most. They've at least got pieces that I think you can prioritize here. Trey Jones being the tops amongst them, 5,400. He's playing big minutes for this team. He's a good fantasy producer. It's like his brother Tyus. Like when these guys get run, they're good. They just are in spots where they back up guys, which is fine. But when they get opportunities to get good minutes, they produce. So I like him at 5,400. He's still too cheap. I think he's the only priority play for me. Herder 4,800 looks like a solid play. I think Kobe White, he's getting pricey and it's not a good spot, but he's playing really good basketball right now. So I don't hate him. He doesn't project necessarily that well, but I think he's a solid contrarian play. He's always a guy that, you're not shocked if he ends the night, with a ton of fantasy points. He's on a heater right now, so I get that. Trey Jones, Herder. I'm trying to think who else am I missing from Chicago here. Who was the other guy you said?
Herder, Jones, White, and then Vooch.
Thanks on the big men there.
Yeah, we're only. I can't get this thing to change. We're only showing Vooch for 27 minutes. So I think that's a key thing to understand is we're not expecting full run here. So he's a bit of a risk, and it's coming in. I mean, no one's going to be clicking on it. Not no one, but people are not going to be chasing after him at about 3%. We have him 6% chance of being optimal. But that's going to be a tough ask. Trey Jones, as you mentioned, 10% positive leverage. So that's definitely something worthwhile here that we want to look at on DraftKings. If we jump over to FanDuel, we can see that Jones has 7% positive leverage there. I'm looking at getting about 35-40% of him on FanDuel tonight. Now his salary has gone up to 32 or 62,000. Yeah, 6,200. So he's out of the fives. That makes it a little bit tough, but I think he is an intriguing option here. I'm fine with Herder using that small forward spot. And then Matt Buzelis, if you're playing over on the secret side, he's still a cheap small forward. So we'll throw him in there. And then Kobe White, averaging career high in points. He's had several 30-point outbursts here, but salary's getting tougher and tougher to return that ever elusive value. And we can see that even at just 12% on FanDuel, he's got a negative leverage. So that means he is over rostered by about 6%. If we look at DraftKings, it's about 5%. So similar takes there. Let's start off with Şengün. Is Şengün going to be a mainstay of your lineups tonight? And how many lineups that the chat always likes to know? How many lineups are you cruising with tonight?
Cruising with 3. Playing 3 lineups in 3 contests each. 3 lineups sounds good to me. Easy enough, even during the show. So anything more than that for me gets a little bit tricky. So playing 3 tonight. And as far as the Houston side goes, they're in a great spot against Chicago. Eason being out helps. but I don't think this is a team with any like priorities, their price tags. They still have most of their guys. And I do like the idea of Şengün here, but $10K for him, 9,900. He doesn't even project for 50 fantasy points. Like, he's a solid play, but he doesn't look like someone that you're like going out of your way to build around, in my opinion, at least. At least I'm not. You know, he's getting 10% ownership. He's coming in a little bit leveraged. So I dig that. I like him here. If I can get to him, I will. I just don't think I'll make him like the first guy I lock in or anything like that. After that, Jalen Green coming off a monster game last night. He projects well for 7,500. I could see playing him over a guy like Trey Murphy, who's going to get a lot more love at the same price. I like Murphy slightly more, but so does the field. Jabari Smith looks like a solid cog type at 4,900. After that, I think Steven Adams at 3,200. He looks pretty good in the tools. I don't think you need it on this slate. But as a direct pivot off of Mo Bamba, it's intriguing. Like, not sure what exactly New Orleans is going to do here because Zion is out, but Olynyk is back, and Bamba hasn't necessarily been great from a fantasy perspective, anyways. Adams is sitting there at the exact same price point, projects for 3 less fantasy points. Like, that's a lot. If you have to know you're giving that up in projections, but you're gaining a ton of ownership leverage there. So I don't hate that direct pivot, but Houston kind of just secondary plays for me outside of Şengün, who I could see, if you wanted to make a priority. How about you?
Agreed. And I saw a few people as I was just looking at different articles that are out there. My article's free in front of the paywall, DFS Building Blocks article every single day here for NBA. Also has the wager of the day. I saw a lot of people talking about Steven Adams, just kind of throwing him in there. His minutes surprisingly have been there, but they've also popped, aside from when he got bounced early. Houston has had some blowouts, so I'm thinking he's getting some of his extra minutes there at the expense of Şengün, as they're trying to keep things take things easier on Şengün, since this is the year that Houston is really going to try to push into the postseason. Remember, we saw last year, each of the last 2 years, Şengün down the stretch getting rest and things like that. They don't really want to do that this season, but of course they need to keep him healthy. But that's Steven Adams has been getting a little bit more run. I think that could disappear at any time. I would agree that the Mo Bamba comp is a good one, because they're both probably looking at between 14 and 17 minutes as their range of realistic outcomes. And they're both good fantasy producers, but we could see them be donuts as well. Not in the minutes, but just, hey, here you go. I got the rebound. I threw the outlet pass. Somebody else do things with it.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I definitely like Bamba more, but he projects for 10 times the ownership. So like, there's leverage there. Right.
Yes, I see they're saying Şengün is expensive. Yeah, but he's been worth it. Double is almost assured with him. He has triple-double upside. Very, very, very solid season. I think I may have actually mentioned that exact same thing in the article. Let me drop the link in chat for that, just because want to give you guys some free stuff. So there you go. Oh, you know what we do have, Matt? We've got Portfolio EV. We've got a 7-day free trial. That's for all new users. So you guys want to check out what everybody's talking about, what Greg has been doing, what Nate has been doing on Nathan has been doing on Twitter as they're doing their bankroll building challenge. Both of them have essentially turned $100 into just over $1,000 in less than 100 days, or around 100 days. That's pretty cool. What if you started with $200? What if you started with $300? And those are just the bets they're posting. They're getting all those bets from Portfolio EV, but check that out. Everybody can get a 7-day free trial if you have not yet signed up. That is with Portfolio EV. All righty, let's hide that. And we are almost at the halfway point, so we might get a little bit of news here at 6:30, but let's keep maneuvering through. our games. The next one we have is the Miami Heat at the Memphis Grizzlies. Alec Burks is out. He's going to miss a couple games with a back issue. Nikola Jovic still out. I think he's missed close to a dozen games at this point with a broken hand, but everybody else appears to be available. For Memphis, the back-to-back, Sandy Aldama is out. He has already missed 5 games with the calf issue. He's going to miss a couple more. Vince Williams has not been playing on back-to-backs because he has not been healthy. That will free up 20 minutes for somebody. Jaren Jackson Jr. missed 5 games with his own ankle injury, came back earlier than expected, and is not, allegedly, I said that allegedly, not on the injury report at this moment, which is surprised that he played last night. I believe it was 28 and a half minutes. Surprised he's not got the injury tag yet, but that could be one of our surprise sits. But he's back and available. So this crowds things a little bit here on the Memphis side. 225 implied point total here. Do you like anything from Memphis versus Miami?
Man, Ja was incredible last night against Cleveland.
Yes, he was.
No one else could do a damn thing, but he was doing literally whatever he was special last night. Vintage Ja performance. Glad it came in an L, but man, he was spectacular. So if you didn't see it, check out some highlights. As far as this game from a DFS perspective, I mean, Pippen's getting good run, and he's 3,700. I think there's a role for him on this slate. I don't think he is far from a priority for me, but he looks like the top play on Memphis right now. I expect all their guys to play. It's Tony Allen jersey retirement night. They've made a huge deal of that in Memphis. They've already said like Morant is playing here, so I would be surprised if he's out. Maybe they cut back on some minutes because it is a back-to-back, but Morant sat out like the last 6 minutes last night. So, yeah, like I don't love Memphis, but I think that their top guys are all good enough where they could get there in tournaments. The real play on this slate is from the Miami side, Jaime Jaquez, who all of a sudden found himself starting 3,500, projects for 25 fantasy points. I think you just play him and move on. He looks like the best play that we've gotten to so far. How do you see it?
Agreed. Well, it was not that long ago when we were talking, when I was like, wait, Jaquez, has he fallen out of the rotation? Why? He's only played once in the last 5 games. Yet here we are. He projects to be on 46% of all lineups on DraftKings. He is currently 3,500, knocks out that small forward spot. There is still positive leverage because we're saying he's going to be optimal 52% of the time on DraftKings. Slightly different story there. And I probably shouldn't go to Yahoo. I should go to FanDuel. That was DraftKings. On FanDuel, if we look at Jaquez, going to be on almost 60% of lineups. Shooting guard, small forward on the blue side, and still a little bit of leverage. I just updated this. These projections are, we'll get another update here before the show's over. But yeah, I was not on my bingo card today. I'm assuming you're of the mind that he needs to be in the starting lineup to play him, right?
Yeah, it has to be. Like not even a situation where I want to play him off the bench. Yeah, with you.
And let me just... I'm not sharing my screen. What I'm doing is I'm going to just verbalize this, going to Basketball Reference, just curious because I hadn't really been paying attention a lot to Miami. So Jaquez has played in the last 5 games prior to his spot start, which was the last game, and he got almost 31 minutes. He played 6 minutes, 13 minutes and 43 seconds, 10 and a half minutes, and 10 minutes. So if he's not in the starting lineup, I don't want to roll the dice. I'll accept rolling the dice if he is in the starting lineup, but that doesn't mean he's not going to find his way back in the doghouse, because prior to these 5 games, that was when he didn't even play for 3 games. He wasn't hurt, played 14, 8, and 7 minutes, missed a couple games, played 22 in a spot start, missed the 2 games prior to that. Those were all DNP coaches' decisions. Those were not injury related. So we want to be careful with this. We want to be careful. Looks like we might have some news here. People saying Aaron Wiggins is out. So Aaron Wiggins is out with an illness. Josh Giddey confirmed out with his sore ankle. Jamal Murray popping up as questionable. Someone is resting for Denver tonight. Someone is resting for Denver.
Well, it looks like it's going to be Jamal Murray.
It could be Murray and Aaron Gordon. That was what my thoughts were going to be.
Is Gordon not on the report or anything yet?
Let me get to NBA injury report. I don't have it saved as favorites on this computer. So hopefully that will get me there. Official NBA.com injury report for. Oh, this is still only the 5:30 report. It's 6:30. Gordon. He is questionable. Injury, illness, right calf injury, injury management, left ankle sprain. I think there's enough things there that make me think he's not going to play.
Yeah, he's definitely not playing, and Murray's not playing. So that's how I'm going to take the slate from here. I could be wrong, but I think you gotta. I'm presuming that those guys are out. Projections might not do that, but that's what I'm personally going to do, especially Murray now.
All right, so let's hit refresh on that. See if we get in one. I'm going to drop this link in for you guys here. That is just to the official NBA injury report page. It comes out every hour. Obviously, there are not updates every hour, but that is a great way to go look at stuff. Greg likes to look at these on the half hour and have all of his sports wagering sites open so he could try to jump in and gain any advantages he can, because you've got about 30 to 60 seconds to react before the sports books will pull people for surprise scratches here. But again, Portfolio EV, 7-day trial, all that fun stuff. All righty. So yeah, it's really Jaquez, a little Andrew Wiggins on FanDuel. He's got small forward, and we got to play two of them there. So he's going to be about 30% on FanDuel. Wrapping up the Miami side on DK. He is going to be about 20% on DraftKings, also small forward eligible. Let's see here. And we said Memphis, really nothing of note, so we can continue on to.
I think you're making a mistake playing too many early guys in this first game, because
maybe.
Look, I mean,
I'm playing too.
Yeah, I get it. Like, you're playing the good players. I wasn't even talking about you. I meant you.
Like anybody.
Yes. Like the proverbial you watching the show. I knew when I said it came out like that, but I didn't mean it like that at all. I just meant like people watching the show. I wouldn't go too crazy on just plugging guys from this early game.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. New Orleans and San Antonio. All right, we got a lot to talk about here. Zion out for personal. Yves Missy is out. It's an island game for the Pels. It is a back-to-back for San Antonio. Obviously, Wemby's out. Charles Bassey has been out for a few games. He popped up as doubtful or questionable. I don't know if that was an error on the injury report or not. Either way, we're not going to play him, but it does potentially give another defender there for the Spurs. It's a back-to-back in 3 and 4 there for the Spurs. Looking at New Orleans, I think Kelly Olynyk is an outstanding option, especially since he's power forward in most places. Their rookie, Carlo, blanking on his name, Matkovic. He is a strong option. And then you mentioned Mo Bamba. He is on a 10-day contract. He has played 2 games thus far. I have that in my article. I know he played 15 minutes and I think 25 minutes in his last one. But with the other 2 key front court players out, he is definitely going to be in the rotation. So starting off with the New Orleans front court, what do you like here?
New Orleans looks really good. This whole game looks, as of right now, like the most appealing spot on the slate. From the New Orleans side, I like Kelly O a ton here. You know, whenever he gets run and is starting, no Zion, no Missy, he's going to be in the starting lineup. Good spot against a shallow San Antonio front court. You know, sure, there's the concern with anyone that's a veteran like Kelly O of him just like not playing much later in the game. But I don't know. Taking that aside, he looks like one of the better plays on this slate. Maybe not the highest of upsides, but solid at 30 at 5,100. Mo Bamba, I'm surprised he projects so well. But again, they're missing Missy and Zion. I get it. Good matchup for him. He's been pretty underwhelming, but He's 3,200, so I'm never going to hate on that. And I'm always a Mo Bamba guy. So I'll play him maybe once. Doubt I get to him twice in my 3 lineups, but probably get to him once. Alvarado looks really good at point guard. I would have said he's a priority, but now with me thinking that Murray's and Gordon are going to be out, Russell Westbrook becomes like maybe the best overall play on the slate in those circumstances. So Alvarado still looks very, very good, but there will be some good point guards on this slate when you throw him, Trey Jones. I just mentioned Westbrook. And then the other guy that I glossed over a couple games ago is Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, he's playing big minutes right now, putting up big fantasy scores at 3,700 with Ja in. Like, yeah, if Ja's out, I think you just lock him in. So all of a sudden we get to a spot where, as of right now, Alvarado looks like the best point guard play on the slate and one of the best overall plays. 2, it's going to be really hard to get to him over Westbrook and Pippen, and you can only play 3 point guard spots in one lineup. So that's NBA DFS for you in a nutshell. I like him, but I won't like him more than the other guys I just talked about.
Back to your comment on Morant, you had said, he planned on playing tonight.
Yeah, I could be off there. I mean, I didn't realize he was truly questionable. I thought he was listed as probable. I could see him being out.
Well, where I was going with that is if he does play, maybe it's just, hat tip, honor, give a shout out, point to
maybe
on, etc. And not like a baseball player who comes out and just plays half an inning, but plays the first half, maybe plays into the third quarter. But it could be hey, we're really only going to play you 28 minutes tonight. Maybe we go more if it's a close game, et cetera, but it could be like a soft minutes limit for him. But again, it's mostly been his shoulder that's been the issue. So that's, the more time on the court, the more chance you're going to injure that. It's different than like a calf injury or a hamstring, a quad, whatever it might be. In any event, Peter Viles, bro. I see what you're doing there. Steven Leibowitz, there we go. Hey, how about we hit the like button here? Just over 2,000 people, 2,100 people watching. We got to get like 400 likes. That shouldn't be that hard. Help us out and tune in tomorrow because we are doing Live Before Lock tomorrow. It's basketball. This will be fun. And the more people we get to watch these shows, the more likely we'll keep doing them through the March Madness. And we'll see what happens when we get to that MLB buzz. Wow. Keep checking this out. What happened?
We just got a projections update, and OKC looks a lot better now with Wiggins out. Shea, in particular, went way up in the boom bust tool. And Kenrich Williams, now a guy that looks to be in play, if nothing else here. Kaysen Wallace also looks better. So I don't love the first game still, but the plays look better. I will like later plays more than these plays, but the guys I just mentioned, Shea, Kaysen Wallace, we already talked about Hartenstein, and Kenrich Williams now in play, if nothing else.
Yep. So here we go. Good. We had a good question here from T. So T is saying, hey, where are you guys getting Murray out? He's not even questionable. The 6:30 injury report. I'm going to drop this link in to you so you can get it anytime you want. They drop on the half hour or the bottom of each hour. So Murray was just added to the injury report, questionable, sore left knee. So it was a back-to-back game for Denver. Murray was the hero last night. Went down to the wire inside of 40 seconds before they got the lead against the Lakers. Tonight they're playing Washington. The expectation for us is that it was likely Gordon and Murray were going to sit tonight. I don't think Jokic sits. But I wouldn't surprise me if he does a quick triple-double and he's out after about 30 minutes and the game is in hand, right? Because he's pushing. He's still got to battle Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for that those MVP votes. But our thought was Murray was going to be out. So we're trying to anticipate some of these things, and this is not anything new for Denver. This is kind of the Gordon and Murray are the two guys that they rest. They're the most injured guys they have, and they're the guys that they're going to need if they want to make a postseason run. So we're inferring here, but yeah, it's not official. But at this point in the NBA season, is anything really official? So, all righty. Let me see. Did we get an ownership update? Let me update this. We did. So let's circle back just real quick here for everybody. We're going to look at OKC since you said that was the biggest changes. So SGA on DraftKings is coming in on about 36%. We see Isaiah Hartenstein is popped up to 21. Cason Wallace is at about 18. If we flip that over to FanDuel and we look at OKC, we have SGA up to 52%. Darn it, my 50% is now going to be matched by the field, Matt. I thought I was being above the field, but looks like I'm not. Dort popped up huge. I believe the kids say bigly. Is that what they say? I'm not a kid. 54%. Yikes, that's a lot. And then Cason Wallace, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Alex Caruso in the 20s. So guess I'm fading those guys since I'm not redoing my FanDuel lineups here. Let's see. Back to New Orleans. So for New Orleans, you mentioned not being super enthralled with Jose Alvarado.
No, I think he's a great play.
Oh, okay.
I think he's one of the best plays on the slate. I just think that Westbrook and Scottie Pippen will be better plays if those guys are out in those respective games. But as of now, he looks like one of the best plays on the slate, and he's still going to be a really good play no matter what.
Yep. Trey Murphy gets a nice boost with Zion out. Murphy has made that leap. He is putting up fringe all-star caliber numbers, which definitely help now that DeJounte Murray is out, especially with Zion out tonight. Obviously, Brandon Ingram hasn't been in the picture, but he is going to be their key scorer. So he is someone that I think should be on our short lists. He is a little over-leveraged on DraftKings. Let's see where he is on FanDuel. On FanDuel, tiny bit over-leveraged there. So it looks like most of the team has settled into the appropriate ownership. Let's see. San Antonio. Do you have anything you want to talk about on San Antonio? Anything trustworthy? I guess the first thing we start with is Stephen Castle. For those who forget, De'Aaron Fox is out for the rest of the season. He had surgery on his left pinky finger to repair ligaments that were torn back in November.
Yeah, so I think that Castle and Vassell, two really good plays on this slate. The shooting guard eligibility for Castle is huge. The shooting guard and small forward eligibility for Vassell is huge. I think both those guys are solid, rock solid plays at their respective price points. No problem with either of them. I think Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Chris Paul, all at 4,700 to 4,800 are tournament plays. I think we're going to get better plays as the slate goes on, but I think those guys are good plays in good spots. After that, I think it's pretty thin, but Blake Wesley does project for 17 fantasy points at 3K. So there's crazier things than taking shots on random guys, deep into March in NBA DFS. But I think the main Spurs are Castle and Vassell, with the other three guys I mentioned as kind of sprinkle and GPPs.
So how do you feel about like a Blake Wesley being a counter move against a Bamba or?
Yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense in that role. Like kind of the same thing as Steven Adams. I think I'd rather play Adams, but I think if you only had 3K left, like if I only had 3K left in a lineup, I would rather just play Wesley than have to change anything to get to Bamba. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would play Bamba over Wesley, though, if I had the 200 in a utility spot.
Okay. That makes sense. It's just that as Chris Paul rounds towards his 40th birthday, doesn't seem to like he was going to get bought out. I don't see him playing heavy minutes at all down the stretch. I'll be shocked any game he goes over 26, 27 at this point. We're projecting him for 24, so no surprise there. But I saw yesterday a lot of the industry had him pushing 30 minutes, and it just doesn't make sense because it actually works in the favor for San Antonio to lose. And without him, out there conducting for the likes of Wemby, it's just like, all right, well, let's get Sohan or Castle or whomever else we want to have experience handling the ball. So he'll play, but these are just nominal options. All right, we got 2 games to go. 14 minutes. Golden State hosting the New York Knicks. Warriors favored by 7. Podziemski is out for his 4th consecutive game with the sore back. Brunson out for his 4th game with his ankle issue. The Knicks, what do you want to do with them? Otherwise, healthy. Tougher Golden State defense here, too.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. I don't want to play the Knicks here. No one from them. Like, they've got good players, so I could see sprinkling them in tournaments. Towns is at a reasonable price point, but man, like, he's not paying off his salary like at all recently. He projects more tonight than he has scored in a while, I think. So I'm going to look real quick. Towns projects for 48.5 fantasy points. I mean, he hasn't cleared that mark since February 23rd. And I'm not playing him because of that, but like, that's a concern for me. He's 10K. He hasn't hit 50 DraftKings points in a couple weeks. I know he was out for a little bit, but he's getting ownership. Like, I would personally much rather play Sengun than Towns. At slightly lower ownership, same exact price, project for the same fantasy points, but I think Sengun is just a better play right now. That being said, like, we've seen Towns go through, weak stretches where he hasn't been amazing in the past, and he's always come out of them being really, really good because that's who he is. So maybe tonight is the night he scores 70. It's just going to not be, I'm just not going to put my money on it. I do think he looks like the best play from New York, though. And now that I shit all over him, he's probably going to go off.
All right. Golden State, nobody above 5%. They're led by Curry at 4, Draymond at 3.5, Butler at 3. We're looking at these guys for the late slate, not really for the main slate. Let's see if anything else is there on FanDuel, because otherwise we want to talk about the late night hammer. And I've got 2 super chats, so I will get to those. Curry is just shy of 10% on FanDuel, so nothing really there. All right, take us to the late night hammer, Matt. Is there anybody you want to play from Washington?
No, but the more guys that are out for Denver and the more Denver I want to just jam in my life, the more I get the idea of playing some Washington, but still no.
Okay. And I think that's the correct answer. Most everybody is available. Bilal Coulibaly out for the rest of the season. But their other guys they can just go minutes everywhere. The young guys are gonna get them, but Middleton and Smart are hanging around. They're gonna get some of them, but nobody's gonna be overburdened with the minutes. Makes it really tough to like any of these guys. Plus, playing at altitude, not great. Let's talk. What concerns, if any, for Jokic, and then hit on Russell Westbrook, and I'll prep the answers for these super chats.
Yeah, the concern for Jokic is that the game blows out. That's it. I mean, back-to-back, sure, but, he's kind of chasing, and he's not chasing the MVP, but he's, a guy who plays a lot, and he's also a guy that can put up monster stat lines in 3 quarters. So, really, the blowout is the only concern here. Now that I kind of just said that out loud, I'm more inclined to just play him, though, because, like, he can easily get there in 3 quarters, especially if you take out Murray. And
I thought it was going to be a blowout last night, right?
Well, yeah, but I always like the game after that. Now in a spot against a team like Washington's A team, they're better than the Lakers B team, but they're certainly not as good as the Nuggets. And now the Nuggets kind of got scared last night. Yeah. I could see them really just like putting belt to ass here and just like not even letting the Wizards think they have a chance in this game. If that happens, so be it. But it's still the NBA. Like, if the Wizards make shots, they'll be in this game. I think that's all you need for Jokic to have an absolutely insane stat line here.
All right. And then Westbrook. So the Westbrook is not going to pop in our models until we officially know that Jamal Murray and or Aaron Gordon are out. So you need to understand that that's how we're putting them together. If you want to change these as you're doing your own stuff, you can, when you go to the contest generator, which I'll put on the screen here, you go to generate lineups, it's going to take you through to where you can update what the field is consisting of for those points and or the ownership. Now, when you put your thumb on the scale here, the reason you want to do it here is if you run it as is, Westbrook's only going to appear in 5 or less % of the portfolio of the field, the tournament you're creating here. But if you we'll go change it here. We could just look at Westbrook. We can see that he is going to be on 5% of the lineups right now because he's projected for 29 fantasy points. You can do a variety of things. You can increase his fantasy points per minute for efficiency. You can give him a few more minutes, and then you can play around with what's in here. If you put this at 20%, it should approximate the field around 20% because we put our finger on or our thumb on the scale there a little bit, and then you can run these. And what'll happen is Westbrook will appear in more of these lineups that you're choosing from. Right now, I only ran 250 here because I wanted to have this go through quickly. But if we pick 20 lineups, let's see who pops up here. We can see that Westbrook is on 70% of our lineups, right? So you see how I ham-fisted that one hard. It's like, well, I don't know that I want 70% of Westbrook. Then cap it. Hey, I don't want to go more than 35. I'll just hard cap it here, unfavorite, refavorite, and then I can come look here and I can see that Westbrook has slid back down and he's going to be capped out at 35%. So that's just a quick way of how you can manipulate what's going on in the Sims. Now, what that's done is that's changed something from what the tournament is going to be, but you're also trying to think ahead to the future of, hey, I'm pretty sure this is going to happen. Here's where I think these folks are going to be when that happens. Where do I want to be? And then allocate your stuff there. And then if it doesn't happen, you can still get out of it, right? We've got, late swap and things like that. But those are the key things there. All right. So the questions were, what are your favorite tournament plays here on Yahoo? So, or pardon me, I say Yahoo, on FanDuel. Let me get back to the data hub. So I would always look at ownership and see what's going on. So for leverage here, I would say for me, SGA still is a strong play. I like Russell Westbrook, right? Why not? Because the field's not there yet. They will catch up. But if you think those guys are going to be out, put Westbrook at 50, put him at 70% now. And, we're at that point of the year where we need to do crazy like that. I think Carlo Matkovic is a good play because he has power forward eligibility as well. So those are our two key players in addition to Shea. Now, I didn't set my stuff up with Westbrook, but I knew I have an hour to do this. I got 25% of Cade. I got 50% of Shea on my FanDuel lineups. I know that leaves 125% of power of my point guard availability there. So I'm going to go put Westbrook in a ton of those. But I had to make that decision to bring the show to you guys without any problems. Those would be my key lineups. You can or my key FanDuel plays. You can also look at the leverage. Looks like there's a little bit of an issue there. You can see some of our there's some data remnants in there, but you can filter this stuff out. If we say projection needs to be greater than let's say 20. You could see Kenrich Williams. Yeah, these guys aren't very exciting. So I would look to the ones I talked to you or that I previously mentioned, and then Şengün would be my other guy.
The other guys I don't want to. Sorry, go ahead, and I'll say after you.
Oh, I was gonna say go ahead. I'll get the DraftKings ready. DraftKings cash plays ready.
We didn't talk about anyone else from Denver. Like I love Christian Brown and Michael Porter Jr. to a lesser degree. If those guys are out, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, good, excellent call outs on that. For cash games for DraftKings, just sort by popularity, I think Jaquez, Alvarado I'm questionable on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I would probably not put him in my cash game. I would be more comfortable seeing what happens with Westbrook, and then probably looking to Giannis would be the route I would go. I would go with the rookie from San Antonio, Carlo. I would probably go with Kelly Olynyk as well. Those would be the ones I would look at. From the first game, I don't think you have to play any in the first game. For cash, the one guy would be Shai, but if I was building one lineup, I would not have him. Deegs is getting crazy amounts of Jokic. Sure, I think that's okay. Just think to yourself, what are ways he could disappoint you, right? What could happen? And yeah, he could get, like I said, he'll get. I think he's he's always live for that. How can you be disappointed with a triple double? Well, when that triple double barely gets you 45 fantasy points, and you're expecting playing a guy that's averaging 60 whatever a season, that's somehow disappointing, right? Let's see here. What are his bad games recently? I'm sad that I used to have an extension here that would give me fantasy points on Basketball Reference, but it doesn't work anymore. So Jokic is just, he's been crushing. He had to play in what we thought was going to be a Denver victory last night. He ended up playing almost 38 minutes. In a 20-point loss to Minnesota, he played 38 minutes. On the second end of a back-to-back, after losing by 24 points in OKC, he said, "Nah, coach, I'm playing tonight." Played 41 minutes in that loss, played almost 40 minutes, leading the team to a victory to avenge that loss to Oklahoma City. How can we be sad about it? All right, 2 minutes to go. Is EMac going to get his lineups in? Yes, because I already have my lineups in. Am I going to be doing a lot of late swap tonight? You know it. What are you terrified with, Matt? What is happening that out there that you're not getting enough of?
I'm trying to figure out if I'm think a last minute swap with Kendrick Williams, who does look really good now. He's never a guy I feel like, prioritizing him is like never something I want to do, but he does kind of pop at 3,500. So I'm not sure. What's your take on Kendrick Williams?
Can't get to it, didn't think about it, but you're right. He did pop up there. He would be sort of a counter against the Bombas, the Blake Westleys, etc.
Yeah, he's not getting a ton of love, but he's also locking in an early roster spot.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather play a guy like Bruce Brown than Kendrick Williams. I think there's more minute security with Kendrick Williams, but I don't he's just not a great fantasy producer. It is like OKC's all of a sudden really shorthanded, though. No Chet, no Jalen Williams, no Aaron Wiggins. I'm not playing Kendrick Williams. I think he gets some love, but I understand anyone who does. And I would still play Jaquez over him. Although you could get shoomped and Jaquez doesn't start, and then everyone wishes they had just played Kendrick Williams. I've seen that happen in NBA DFS time and time again. I don't expect it tonight, but it's, the classic bird in the hand versus two in the bush. You know what I mean?
So many things I could add to that, but we won't. Shout out Wichita.
It's true, though. It's true.
Yeah. All right. Link join. Got it on the screen. You guys want to get 1 month of Stokastic Sims, single sports, sign up for one of these sites that you have not yet signed up for. See those two at the bottom, Fanatics and Chalkboard? Bet you guys haven't signed up for that. Follow the instructions on the link that I just dropped in there. If you follow them correctly and come in through our link, you got 30 days of your choice of Stokastic single sport Sims. Jump on that. You don't like Sims? You already got them. You can get the same deal for OddsShopper for Portfolio EV, 30 days of premium. We are at lock. I want to thank everybody who was here. Hit that like button on the way out. Very, very helpful. And we do have NBA Live before lock tomorrow. So be there. Be there. Help us keep bringing these free shows to you guys. Very, very key. Very, very key. With that, you can find Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. You can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stokastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck. And Matt, don't forget to sign out of playback.